Thank you for sharing this time with us. We acknowledge that each of you come with your own unique life experiences. This contributes to the way you perceive several types of information. During this viewing and discussion session, we will cover a variety of topics, some of which you may find triggering. These topics include racial biases, pregnancy loss, and mental health crisis. If you are a trauma survivor, encounter a topic during this session that is triggering for you, in response, we encourage you to take the necessary steps for your emotional safety. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the San Antonio chapter. We thank you for joining us on our SheLeads series. My name is Ms. Ginger Stevenson, and our admin technicians tonight are Ms. Latasha Freeman and Ms. Lindsay Lewis. Anytime during this session you require technical support, please direct all of your messages to them. Tonight's webinar will begin soon. Let's cover some webinar housekeeping guidance. The chat will be turned on for the question and answer portion of this webinar only, in which you may type in your questions. Our admin technicians will ensure your questions are answered during the question and answer portion. As a friendly reminder, the cameras are disabled, but anytime you can insert your questions or comments inside of the Q&A section. For any reason you are disconnected, you may log back in with the same webinar invitation you received to join us tonight. All participants are automatically muted by the webinar administrator to avoid background noise during this event. This webinar will be recorded and posted to the National Coalition of 100 Black Women San Antonio chapter social media channels. And at this time, I would like to turn it over to our moderator, Ms. Sihan Williams. She is a healthcare provider and has been a nurse working in various specialties. So without further ado, Ms. Sihan Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I am so grateful for your time that you are spending with us to shine a light on racial disparities, mental health during the maternal period, that is during pregnancy, after pregnancy, up to a year, and understanding that our women of color are affected disproportionately. So this is going to be a great thought-provoking movie that we will watch together, have an open dialogue with an amazing family advocate here in the San Antonio area. And again, it's the goal of ours is to shine a light on things that are impacting our community, build and share knowledge and resources in efforts to reverse the statistics that we are seeing today. So thank you again. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts that you are joining us in this journey and this discussion and viewing. Next slide, please. Again, the movie that we will be watching is going to depict the life of Nina. Nina, she is us. We are her. She is our nieces, our sisters, our cousins, our neighbors. She is a representative of many women that live in our community or that looks like us. We are going to see the one day in time in her experience and how she lives through it the best way she can, and the impacts of things that she experienced on her health and the health of her unborn child and family. Again, we're here together to watch this journey and to share the knowledge and resources that we have and start to discuss this topic, which is now, according to the CDC, is the leading cause. Mental health disorders is now the leading cause of maternal moms that die during pregnancy or after. Let's look at opportunities and let's look at the day in the life of Nina. Next slide, please. Again, I gave a little statistics from the CDC, but overall, in the United States, there are many women that are dying from mental health disorders, but again, it is significantly impacting African American women and our babies. So how do we utilize these resources that you see on the screen to normalize the discussion of stress, normalize the discussion of mental wellness is a part of our holistic wellness. This slide will be shown at the end of the webinar and also sent out again as a part of a follow-up from our discussion. Thank you. Next slide. Give us one moment as we are going to be shifting to the video.
Baby, can you go wake Michael up for me, please? I gotta get ready. Please, come on. Love you, thank you. So you want to get couple shades lighter than your own. Take your dab punch and you want to just like
Morning to you. The news this morning, a planning application which will affect the future of Sellafield nuclear plant goes before Portland Council appointing tomorrow. The NFL want more storage facilities for intermediate radioactive waste. The company says if they do not get the go-ahead, they will have to stop reprocessing by 1990.
You doing your homework?
A new 1.7 billion pound
Doing your work?
I'm almost done.
So am I.
Okay. Don't let your mom see you. She's gonna say something to you.
good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hey. Get you some breakfast.
Wait, that better not be your homework.
I'm almost done.
What do you mean? What were you doing last night?
I was working on it.
Michael, done?
Now, on to our top story. A 12-year-old boy was shot and killed by a city police officer Saturday morning. According to the officer's statement, the boy was wielding a BB gun that the officer perceived to be a firearm. When asked to
Oh my
comply,
gosh, come on, you guys, not today.
Damn. Okay.
Well, don't.
Yes, I will.
I don't know about this hair. Like, what do you think?
You gotta let that skin glow and that hair grow.
Oh my gosh.
Wait a minute. Is that the skirt that you had on that one that you had on
I
the
know
night
you're not
that...
gonna talk like that in front of your son.
Anyway, did you take your vitamin?
No, not yet.
How'd you sleep last night?
Okay, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little pain, but nothing too bad. It's
Should we
okay.
call Dr. Gupta?
Why? So she can just dismiss whatever I have to tell her like she did last week?
You went to see her last week? Why
Yeah.
you didn't tell me that?
It was nothing. I just had a little pain, that's all.
You still gotta tell me that kind of stuff, though.
It was nothing.
How have you been doing?
To be honest, not too good. I mean, I've been having a lot of pain and cramping in my lower abdomen.
Yeah?
Enough that I thought I should come in and see you.
Sounds like round ligament stretching. Pretty common.
I just don't remember having this kind of pain with my first baby.
Nina, I know this is not your first pregnancy, but I'm sorry to tell you, not all pregnancies are the same. It's not always comfortable, and plenty of women overreact to these things.
Overreact? I don't think I'm overreacting.
Everything is fine. Just go home and treat yourself to a relaxing evening. I'm sure you'll be feeling better soon.
Wait, but is there anything that you... Oh, my God.
Go to the doctor?
Thank you. No, I mean, besides, I don't know. I mean, I have the depositions today and that big trial. I don't have time for a doctor today.
So then we need to talk later.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I got a late meeting today, so can you pick up Michael from school? I can just grab some dinner on the way home.
Okay. It's not like I just literally didn't tell you how swamped I am today.
I got it.
No,
I'll
it's
do it.
fine. I can do it. Just tell me what time you'll be home. I know you know better than that.
Sorry.
Just for that, you can say grace. Come on. Let me tell you twice.
Thank you, God, for this food, for rest and home, for everything that is good, in the wind and sun above, but most of all, those we love. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Let's eat. I am starving.
When we get home later, I want you to put your wrestling clothes in the washer. What time are you getting out of practice? Michael, are you listening? Michael, I'm talking to you.
I heard you.
Well, what time do you get out of practice?
4, but we're going to the skate park after.
And who's we?
Me, Jamie, and some other kids.
Are any parents gonna be there?
Parents? Why do we need parents? We're just going to the skate park.
Another day of protests downtown today after the shooting of a 12-year-old African-American boy who police say was wielding a BB gun.
Sorry, not today.
Why?
Just not today, okay?
God, it's so unfair.
You're right. It is unfair, but I'd rather you not have to find out the hard way when you and your friends are picked up and you're the only one going to jail.
I'm just scared because of the news. We're not going to get shot or anything.
Enough, Michael.
Still talking digits, take a house and flip it. And if we talking squares, I'ma need 20. Coming down I-20, no ludicrous. Took them 20 blocks and turned it into 60. Talking hush money, don't come slow, it come fast. When you running through blocks, you run through pounds, smoking gas. So hush, money keep coming stacked up like a bus. Yeah, I'm really getting money, me and Red got a crush.
I love you.
Money, rich, you rich, don't give a hush.
Oh, our mango. Mango. Here you go.
Good to see you here today.
Hi, how are you?
Got a minute to talk?
Actually, I'm in a bit of a rush. Is everything okay?
Yeah, well, there's just a problem with Michael's wrestling team.
Oh?
Yeah, it seems he's going to have to do something about his hair if he wants to stay in the program.
His hair?
Yes, well, I guess there's a league rule that says boys can't have dreadlocks. It interferes with the matches.
He's wrestled in dozens of matches. It's never been a problem before.
Well, I believe it to be a new rule. Well, some of the other parents have been complaining about the lack of enforcement of the rule.
So does this mean all your boys with locks are having to cut them?
No, just Michael.
Oh, just... Okay, well, I'm gonna get going, but I will definitely talk to him and his father tonight and get back with you as to what we decide to do with our son's hair. Okay?
Of course, and I hope this doesn't seem like it's anything other than policy.
No, why would it?
Right.
Have a good day.
You as well.
Have his locks forever. Talk to me about his hair being a problem on the team. It's just unbelievable. Wait till I tell Don. So does this mean all your boys with locks are having to cut them?
No, just Michael, just Michael. Hey, some of the other parents have been complaining, lack of enforcement of the rule. I hope this doesn't seem like anything other than policy. Policy.
Morning. Good morning, Nina.
Oh, hi, good morning. How's it going?
Well, I know Carl called us here for this meeting, but I think I'm missing a couple of things on this Sam's case.
I'll give you everything I have.
All right. Let's see what we got here. So, have you seen the new intern? I was 20 years younger.
And what would your husband say about that?
Oh, I don't think he'd mind if I was 20 years younger.
Ooh.
Oh, are you okay?
Yeah, I think my little mango didn't like what I ate for lunch.
I love mango. Did you have it in your salad?
No, not... Never mind.
At least you're over the morning sickness part.
True.
I remember with my first two, I was sick all the time. The third one, I didn't feel a thing. Though she's the one who gives me the most trouble of the three, there's some irony in there.
Did we get any word back on the Blair case?
Nope. Still waiting to hear back from the judge. Oh, did you hear about the Williams case?
Hear what?
Well, Leo managed to get his sentence reduced down to community service plus probation.
Are you kidding me? 18-year-old frat boy rapes a passed-out girl and gets probation? Because he is a promising college kid who made a mistake and his life shouldn't be ruined. Meanwhile, my pro bono client, who's only 16, by the way, finds himself at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong crowd with no idea that he's sitting in a getaway car. Now he's being tried as an adult for armed robbery and had nothing to do with it.
Well, yeah, but he's from Kinsman. Nothing good ever comes from Kinsman.
I'm from Kinsman.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Anyway, there's probably more to it than that. He might have gotten in a fight with the police or had drugs on him or something. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I went to that Soul Cycle class yesterday, and guess who the teacher was? It was that woman with the crazy green and pink hair. And she was telling us the story about her cat. How her cat has learned how to ring the doorbell in order to be let in. It's such the craziest thing, isn't it? I mean, that's funny, right? Nina? Funny, right? Nina?
Hey, how was school? Who was that?
Who?
With the long hair?
Riley?
Does he wrestle?
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah.
Got the nerve to talk to me about some hair today.
I'm hungry.
I can't control the traffic, Michael.
Can we stop and get something?
Your father's picking up dinner. Can't you wait?
Is that for you?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
Was you speeding?
No. I'm doing like 30. Like, this is crazy. There's no shoulder. I guess I'll get off right here. Great.
I thought we was gonna get a DWB.
What is that?
Driving while black?
Right. It's crazy.
Want me to look for directions back on the highway?
No, I know these streets.
I mean, we were just sitting back, you know, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. You know, tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it.
This place is shady as...
Boy, you better not finish that sentence.
Sorry. Ooh, can we stop and get something?
Here?
Please, I'll be quick, I swear. Please. Before we pass it, please.
All right, but be quick.
Quick.
I mean, real quick.
Let me put a baby on top of that baby. You know what I'm saying? Hey, let us do this shot. What you mean?
Do you guys have any fruits or granola bars?
No fruits.
I understand about the fruits, but do you have any granola bars or power bars or something like that?
No granola.
Still keeping this place stocked with healthy options for the community, I see.
Sir, do you have any quinoa by chance?
Don't. No, he doesn't.
Swipe your snap card.
What?
What's that?
Do you have a snap card?
No, I don't.
You ask everyone.
So that's not his name?
No, it is, but not when he raps.
Well, what is it when he raps?
Childish Gambino?
Let me get my candy. Childish Gambino. Childish? How old is he? And what is a Gambino? I mean, what does it mean?
I don't think it means anything. He came up with it on some Wu-Tang name generator. Wu-Tang, it's a group from the 90s.
I know you're not trying to teach me about Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
As we dwell in this concrete hell, call it at home. Mama say, take your time, young man, and build your own. Don't wind up like your old dad, still searching for the glory days he never had. What? You trying to teach me about Wu-Tang?
I thought you only listened to jazz.
Listen, honey, I've been shadowboxing since before you were born, okay?
That's pretty cool. I ain't think you had it like that. Mom. You okay?
Call your dad. Call your dad. Call your dad.
Hello? Dad, Mom's in pain.
Here we go. I need you to give me a good deep breath and let's go. Yes, come on, Nina. That's good. That's good, Nina. That's good.
You got this. You got
Okay, I can see the baby. He's coming up. Very good, Nina. That's great job. Great job. Great job, Nina. Nina, I'm going to give your baby to the NICU doctor so that he can take care of him and I can take care of you, okay?
Is the baby okay? Is the baby okay?
Nina, he's going to be okay.
Baby okay?
Baby's weight, 400 grams.
How's our chest rise?
I've only got it on one side.
Let's adjust the breathing tube.
The heart rate is dropping.
Let's start chest compressions. Let's start chest compressions. Let's start chest compressions.
Several different delays as to when the shutdown will officially be over, and a developing story over protests in regards to the police department's official statement that the police officer who shot the 12-year-old acted
Can we
in
not
personal
right
safety.
now?
Looks to be a few slowdowns.
Just turn it off.
Make sure you stay tuned for the latest.
Wow, what an impactful movie. Thank you. Now it's time for our discussion. So audience, there may be some questions that you may have, but also that during our discussion, feel free to respond and enter it to the Q&A section. Again, good evening. That was such an impactful movie. It went through, again, the day in the life of Nina and her experiences and how she responded, how interactions occurred. And to me, this isn't the first time I watched the movie, but it's been so impactful. My name again is Sion Williams. I am a women's health nurse. I am fortunate to serve as the quality coordinator for a local hospital, and that my personal life with working with NCBW as the health chair, I am able to mix my personal passion and purpose and my why behind what I do professionally with supporting our community and building the discussion around how do we change and reverse and advocate for ourselves, for our health and wellness, for not only our community. One of the things I'm absolutely passionate about is women's health, uh, because I believe that that's where our community starts and then grows from, the family unit, and again, during this precious time. So my years of experience in women's health, it's has been fortunate to lead me here of how do I educate myself, how do I share what I learn, and how do I collaborate with great individuals like Miss Veronica Simpkins and her organization. Veronica, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your purpose, your organization, and the things that you do here as well.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I'm Veronica Simpkins. I'm one of the co-founders and executive directors, along with Ashley Green for Latch Support. We're a local nonprofit that started back in 2017 with really focusing on making sure we were addressing the inequities we saw with breastfeeding among Black women in the community. But that quickly has grown, and our mission has now expanded to make sure that we're empowering families through resources and advocacy to make sure that um, they survive, and that this is life-saving education for themselves, their babies, and for the family that surrounds them. So we are very proud of what we have, what we provide in the community, of making sure we have that accessible evidence-based education so that women can know how to advocate for themselves throughout their pregnancy, and we can continue to support them when their babies turn up until 3. So our program, we encompass from pregnancy education, parenting education, car seat safety, our doula program, material assistance, but really making sure that we're addressing the needs in the community based off of the voices and what our families are telling us that they need, and really being able to elevate up those concerns they may be experiencing in the hospitals, because we're nurses and able to speak to some of our partnerships with hospitals. So I'm thankful for this conversation that we're going to have.
Thank you again for that introduction, that understanding of, again, the great service that you do for our families here in the community, surrounding around pregnancy and following those very fragile, important years leading into the vulnerable years. And so with that, and for also our audience, what was the most difficult part of watching that video for you?
Oh my goodness. I actually, my first reaction was, like you mentioned earlier, we are all Nina. I literally was Nina last year, just experiencing some of the same things that that video portrayed, with feeling like you are sharing a concern with your doctor, hoping that your voice is being heard with that concern and it not being taken seriously. And in my case, I'm thankful that although I ended up delivering at 30 weeks, and my son delivered at 2 pounds and 2 ounces, and he spent 50 days in the NICU, I thank God every day that I'm able to look at him. But I know that's not the same for all moms that may have experienced a pregnancy complication, or maybe even it's a family going home without mom and going home with baby. So I think Nina's story, it's so relevant right now, just with some of the things that I jotted down, just watching it again, being dismissed, and the provider almost doing patient blaming and saying that she was overreacting. With our clients that we serve at Latch, we often hear how quickly, through the business of birthing, it has now change the compassionate care that women used to receive going through the hospital system. And now we are playing this patient blaming game, which is, it's unfair, and it really it creates this mistrust that we're now trying to overcome. And it creates this space of somebody that you're supposed to trust, and is supposed to explain those maybe health issues you are having, feeling that you're being dismissed, or the lack of time for you. And on the other side, doctors, they are on they can only bill for 15 minutes, so they're trying to keep that appointment to 15 minutes. But how do we really say that that's okay if it's resulting in women dying? I think looking at Nina too, her work profession, going in and being an educated Black woman, it doesn't matter. The studies are actually showing that if you are going into hospital systems more educated, you actually are seen to be more of a nagger or somebody that is trying to voice a concern and as looked at now as more of a difficult patient because they rather you just be quiet and do as what the doctor orders and not cause or ask questions. So the advocacy is so important, and I know we'll get to that a little later. And then just touching again on the family expectations, I feel like we carry so much burden as women, as working women, and that expectation of family expectation, work expectation, society stressors, and then just the day to day of trying to make sure that we navigate children to still be the bucket that they pour into and to be that barrier around racism and other stressors they're experiencing sometimes that which we can't even explain, that we're trying to now have to explain to children. So just watching the film, those were some of the quick things that I resonated with Nina.
I hear you. I'm a mother of 3 Black sons. My oldest from 22 and our youngest is 13 years old. And watching that, it took me back. It really took me back. Years ago, Jet Magazine had Jordan Davis picture on there, and it stated, "Is your son next? Or is your child next?" And at the time, I had 2 small sons, pregnant with the third. And I'm like, is my baby next? How do I protect them? How do we ensure not only, again, as you said, the stressors of just living and protecting our
Mhm.
children? So that moment was tough. And then
Mhm.
also when her and her husband, Nina and her husband, Don, was informed that their baby did not survive.
Mhm.
And how can we provide, as I'm a women's quality coordinator and I focus on women's health in the hospital and the quality of services we give. And
Mhm.
my heart broke. How do we
Mhm.
give that compassionate, respectful care at that
Mhm.
moment?
Right, right. Yeah. And I think that it's when we talk about just different stressors and just the effect that it has on our health, it's causes mental health issues. It increases our risk of depression, anxiety, PTSD. You go into a pregnancy and a delivery hoping that you have a positive experience. But even as a labor and delivery nurse, not every day at work when I went was a positive experience. And how you are surrounded by the people that are there making their living in a moment that is so personal to you, it really can have an effect on your mental health and it be a PTSD response when now somebody's asking, how did your pregnancy go? Or even like Nina's colleague, she was saying, oh, my first pregnancy was this, my second pregnancy was this. But just the mindfulness of sometimes you sharing about your story, you're actually triggering that person that you may think is in a positive space of that pregnancy, but they may actually have fear or stress around that. So, and then the stress, it plays such a physical part on our health, causing hypertension, cardiovascular issues, and just stress related conditions. And as Black women, those are comorbidities that are already high for us before we even go into pregnancy. So pregnancy is exacerbating them. So if you have not been really following it prior to your pregnancy and now you're experiencing pregnancy, that now may be something that you're having to manage. And it's important to manage even after the pregnancy because it can have lasting effects on you. And walking around with high blood pressure, it may seem like your body may adapt to it, but it slowly runs us down. So making sure that we're paying attention to that. And then just the stress of those pregnancy outcomes. Even driving home without her baby and listening to the radio, we know that she didn't go home with her baby, but there's also health complications from carrying that toxic stress throughout pregnancy. Babies are born preterm, they have low birth weights, and we know that infant mortality is high. I know the studies are coming out now showing that we're seeing a decrease in maternal mortality, but infant mortality still continues to be high for Black infants. And I was even reading something earlier too, that it was showing that at least 15% of babies that are admitted to the NICU are of Black moms. And if you are in the hospital for longer than a week, you have higher chances of experiencing postpartum depression. And if your baby's in there even longer than 2 weeks, it continues to gradually increase. So with knowing that these pregnancy complications are in place, making sure that we're making it a part of normal conversation of how do we address maternal mental health conditions too? How are we making sure that these women that are experiencing these complications are getting the support that they need? And then just, generational impact. You may be the first person that is experiencing a pregnancy loss. You may be the first person that is experiencing infertility. And sometimes our family doesn't even know how to respond, and it carries a different level of stress. And, within the Black community, we walk around and we often say, let's just pray about it. But, sometimes it's more than just praying about it, and we may need professional support to help us get over that toxic stress that we may be up against.
Yeah, great point. And with that, even for in the chat, a participant shared her experience as well of being, again, feeling dismissed and that not being heard, and to ensure how do we do that in the future? Again, various different groups, and you were talking about mental health. We're talking about being heard, being seen.
Mhm.
I think that's
Mhm.
intuitive to us as humans that we want to,
Mhm.
but
Right.
knowing that our voices do matter. And what I found extraordinary, a few things, is that one, regardless of the social economic
Mhm.
status, like you said, you can be very highly educated, you can have a phenomenal insurance,
Mhm.
no barriers to healthcare, access to
Mhm.
healthcare, access to nutrition and overall wellness, but it's still our rates are so significantly high.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the next thing, when in 22, when the CDC came out and said the leading cause of maternal mortality was associated with mental health conditions, whether it
Mm.
was suicide, substance abuse,
Mhm.
that to me was so profound and
Mhm.
no other time. So, how do we, in that statement that you made regarding we're going to pray about it and we may need mental health, how do we normalize
Mhm.
discussing mental health? Mental health is a part of holistic health. So how do we
Right.
continue to work through that?
Yeah, I think society as a whole, COVID has now propelled us forward in at least opening more discussions about mental health. I think specifically when we talk about maternal mental health, it is a space that is now getting more conversation around it, and I believe that's coming from more exposure, more people sharing, more campaigns getting behind sharing the voices of moms, more news outlets actually reporting on postpartum suicide stories and things of that sort. But I think it's a layered, um, uh, like action plan, right? It's so many different spaces that could help improve the conversations. Those are community convenings. Those are community-based organizations that have that space where relationships have been formed grassroots. And it goes back to now allowing those stories that may be shared with those community-based organizations to now go back to lawmakers, go back to hospitals, and for us to really take a space of accountability. One of the spaces I feel that we're failing in as healthcare is we're not really stepping up as leaders. And we're saying, oh, we're delivering babies, we're meeting the numbers and things like that, but where are we acknowledging that there is an issue? And if there is a mom that is coming back and saying that a doctor was forceful or didn't have the kind bedside manner, or maybe made me feel that I needed to, say I should do this C-section. How do we keep those providers accountable? How do we keep those conversations about those stories? I think hospitals are doing a better job of keeping data around physicians and their C-section rates and episiotomies and different things like that, return to the hospital infections. But it's so much more impactful to actually hear from families that are experiencing things. And I think that because we go through almost like a PTSD response after those traumatic events, sometimes it's easier not to talk about it because it will bring us back to that place of negativity. But I think what we're trying to do, especially at Lash, is to just create those spaces of support. And recognizing that women need to know that they have those spaces of support even during pregnancy. So if they do go through a traumatic experience, they have already a safe space that they can feel they can voice that, whether it's discussing that birth experience or that postpartum journey, or just connecting with somebody within the organization that can visit them in their home so they don't have to feel the pressure to get out of home with their new baby. But I think a lot of it goes back to how can we just as a community, as a hospital system, really address a lot of these concerns. Some of it comes back to cultural competency. How do we make sure that providers that are actually providing care right now understand the vast um, uh, demographic that we serve? San Antonio is very privileged to have a vast cultural landscape, but if I have a bias as a doctor on a patient that's non-English speaking, that needs to be addressed. That's a cultural competency that a hospital needs to be able to address within their physicians at the hospital. And there are so many things that are in place now to make sure that patients are being heard with translation phones and just taking the time to utilize resources. And then just the advocacy and the support, connecting partnerships and community organizations back to get additional resources, to connect them to support groups, to connect them to beyond just the hospital setting. It doesn't end there. It doesn't have to end there. There's support beyond that. So that's one of the things that we really try to focus on too, with our partnerships with the hospital, of just trying to be that connector piece of bridging hospital experience now with back to the realities of how do I continue to get that support?
Yeah, and you bring up a great point because I'm a firm believer that health and wellness happens in the community.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily happen, but again, how do we build that empowerment and that
Mhm.
voice? Because individuals have different experiences. If they feel they're not being heard, they can either, again, if they feel that it's not a trusted environment or they
Mhm.
fear judgment
Mhm.
or things. So absolutely. And you brought up a point of organizations are starting to build that with
Mhm.
Texas Hear Her campaign
Mhm. Mhm.
and Mama's Voices. And
Mhm.
so how do we continue to build that space to make sure that it's a trusted environment that is judgment free, that
Mhm.
is giving empathetic, holistic
Yeah.
care?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we've made a couple of changes. So, and I think legislation now has started to address some of the maternal health disparities by making sure they're investing in community-based organizations that are trying to address those social determinants of health. I know Medicaid expansion was a great win to make sure that lower income women that are receiving Medicaid that get that extension of postpartum care, because we were recognizing it was ending at 6 weeks, but you can have a postpartum hemorrhage up until 12 weeks after you deliver. So the postpartum complications can continue, and especially that mental health component. And I think a lot of states, I'm not saying Texas, but some states are doing a better job of implicit bias training for healthcare providers. I think that's another great policy change that I'm hoping that Texas and our healthcare systems can get on board with that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads to the next of, our action from we've discussed in this short amount of time, families, how does families know about resources that are available here in the San Antonio area specifically? You have a great organization, again, from pregnancy to 3 years old. That's extraordinary. How does families in the local area, how do they find those resources? Even if the mom is like, I I'm struggling, I'm juggling multiple roles. What do I don't know what I need. I know I need a trusted environment, something
Right.
that, where do they
Yeah.
go? How do they reach out and find those things?
Yeah, I think it goes back to community. I think when we started back in 2017, we didn't do any advertisement that we were offering support. It came from word of mouth. It came from moms going on to groups saying, "Hey, you need help with breastfeeding? Call these nurses." They came to my house for free and they helped me. And so I think it really is the community. Community, if you go onto mom groups, it very quickly, if there's a provider that did a mom wrong, she'll say, "Hey, I need a different provider because this one was not it for me." And then you'll see that 20 other moms are like, "Oh my gosh, I had that same doctor, that same problem." So I think community is really the biggest way of sharing what is most useful. I would say Google and 211, but there are organizations that aren't necessarily making progressive changes to really address the needs of the community. So I would definitely just recommend getting involved with social groups and staying connected in those way to make sure that the families get what they need.
Yeah. And also for the participants that are on the webinar, what are your thoughts on how can we support our families with that understanding mental health support, recognizing warning signs within ourselves or our loved ones when uh, there are concerns that our mental wellness is not at its peak or it is struggling and how to help. So please, in the Q&A section, feel free to post what are your thoughts on how can we support not only the families, but also our community for those resources, because that's what we're here for, to share knowledge, to share how do we advocate for ourselves? How do we take that ownership up? Yeah, this has been an absolutely fantastic discussion. Veronica, I'm so thankful that you have spent this time and again, your organization, what you're doing in our community to help with that, because mental wellness is holistic wellness. It is us.
Yes.
And we are thankful for that. And there was a hand up. I saw
Sorry,
that.
Miss Dion, that is Miss Ginger Stevenson. We do have a couple questions in chat if you want to have the technicians to give you a couple before we leave. And I'm
Oh,
gonna go
yes,
on mute and they can actually jump in.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Great. We do have Ashley Murray. She did make a comment in the chat session. She thought the movie was very powerful, but it's not a direct question, but she would like to know what was the cause of death of the baby, or if Nina was able to find out to address her OBGYN.
Yeah. For the movie, it left it a little vague. We do know that she was in her second trimester. So she was again in a period of time where many things can occur, and that part of her life or her pregnancy that can result in directly pregnancy related conditions after 20 weeks and beyond. And so it doesn't lend itself to exactly what happened. Again, we saw little clues to understanding that she was experiencing ongoing discomfort. She was keeping track of her daily weight. So I don't want to assume, but just to understand that it left it vague for a little bit and just to focus on all of the impact of her life, and all of the potential um, effects that in daily interactions, how that contributed to her overall stress level. Veronica, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just like to add too, I think that point of the movie, it really just shines light on seeking a second opinion. If your concerns are not being addressed and you're feeling like you're just not being treated with respect and dignity at a time that is so important for you and the growth of your baby, it's okay to say that provider's not for you. Even as far as first trimester, second trimester, I could be 40 weeks, but if I feel like you're not the best doctor for me, it is your patient right to go somewhere else. You don't have to accept care if you feel that that provider is not providing you the best care.
Yeah, great point. Because again, in healthcare, we talk about being family centered, patient centered. That means they are the center and we are there to serve them in a safe way. So that's a great point. Thank you.
Hi, ladies. We had another comment in the chat. This one was from Madam President. She shared that when I had my youngest child number 4 for me, my doctor was very dismissive when I told him that my baby felt very large. He insisted that I was wrong and said she would only be about 7 pounds. Additionally, when I mentioned that I had been leaking amniotic fluid for weeks, he dismissed me again. As it turned out, I had a dry birth because I had leaked all my amniotic fluid, and my baby girl was born at 10 pounds and 1 ounce. To make matters worse, my doctor was away on vacation when I gave birth. Very,
Wow.
very tough. Thank you for sharing, Madam President. And I actually just wanted to add, this question kind of interlinks with it, but with more attention being brought up about birth disparity and more community organizations providing support, if you have any insight, how are medical institutions changing the way that they teach? And that was from Sister Kanasha Trent.
Thank you for that. So a few years ago, and I recently came from the academia environment, we're focusing on social determinants of health, understanding that. And social determinants of health is not necessarily clear. That is the surrounding about things that typically you can have impact and change. We can't change our race. We can't change our ethnic group. And so that's where the start of the discussion, being culturally competent, started. Now we definitely have ways to go. And as Veronica said earlier, some states require that to be when we renew our license, that there's specific training related to respectful care, cultural competence, and understanding our own bias. And that doesn't always have to be so focused on racial bias, but just generalized bias. And how do we have moments of self-reflection that it doesn't interrupt? And then the next step is there is a Texas campaign, and also at the national level as well, as Hear Her. So it's those individuals like Madam President said, Ms. Joy McGee, she focused on her experience, her lived experience. How do we hear those stories and recognize our place in them, and how do we reverse and support families through that? How do we hear what they're saying? Veronica, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think I'll do a plug here, but I think one of the things that we're trying to add with Latch are it really expanding on our community-based doula program. So the community-based doula program, it's going to focus on bringing in women with lived experience that can support a woman in that space of birth, postpartum, and just making sure that she has the support in addition to maybe that family support she has at home. We know that the studies are showing that that doula support is helping to change pregnancy complications and birth outcomes for moms and babies. We will actually be doing a community convening to welcome anybody to our free training to be a community-based doula and hopefully take clients within Latch that need that support. And we're hoping to do that in August. And you know, it will be a bit of a lengthy training, but it is to make sure that we are well preparing the doulas to face. Not every situation is going to be a happy one, and how do you help to overcome that and be that support for that mom? Because the support networks, they're so important, and I think what we're seeing is that is making a huge change in the outcomes that we're seeing with moms delivering.
Yeah. Great resource. I am an absolute fan. Doulas, we can't say enough, and I will be on the soapbox and talking about how amazing doulas are throughout the entire process. So again, thank you, Veronica, for our time that we spent together. Great discussion. There is going to be continued more collaboration because us together, all the participants, our community, we can and will, we have the power, and as we share knowledge and resources to start to reverse these trends and advocate for our community and advocate for our moms and our babies.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one ask I would say is just keep Latch in mind, whether that is volunteering time or donating $5 to help us buy a pack of diapers for a mom that is in need. Just definitely visit our website to stay connected with us, join our mailing list to learn about upcoming events and trainings that we'll be facilitating. We're doing a lot of great things in the community, and we're just really hoping that we can get support from the community to make sure that we're sustained and we stay to continue to provide what we know is most important.
So again, thank you all for spending this time with us. We are blessed to have, again, great team that is supporting. You will now be seeing additional resources that will be sent out. Thank you and have a great evening. Thank you so much.